Hi, I'm Sam. I'm Head of Advisory at Blue Marble, and in this presentation I'm going to discuss what is an EPD. In order to understand what an EPD is, first of all we need to have a basic understanding of life cycle assessment. This diagram here on the left is a visualization of the life cycle of a typical product. It starts with raw materials, then the product is manufactured, there's transportation involved, the product is used, and then it reaches the end of its life. And at each of those life cycle stages, resources are consumed, and that may be water, certainly energy, and certainly materials. Correspondingly, there are environmental impacts at each of those life cycle stages, and they may result in acid rain potential, climate change, water pollution, or ozone layer depletion. And once we understand what the environmental impacts are of the product's life cycle, we can start to do something about it. So with raw materials, we can increase the recycled content. With manufacturing, we can look at ways of saving energy and reducing emissions. With the transportation, we can look to reduce transportation distances and look at other ways of packaging the product. With the use phase, we can design the product in such ways that it's more energy efficient. And at the end of life, again, we can design the product in a way that it increases the reuse potential of it or its recyclability. So what is an EPD then? Well, an EPD is just a summary document of the life cycle assessment that you have conducted on your product. It's typically 10 to 15 pages long. It contains technical product details, nothing confidential, but technical details like you might find in a technical data sheet. But importantly, it also includes environmental data, and that's in the form of tables at the end of the EPD document typically. It's considered to be highly accurate, it's standardized, and it's verified as well. So how is an EPD produced? Well, typically the following parties would be involved. You have a manufacturer, you have the supplier of raw materials to that manufacturer, you have an LCA consultant such as Blue Marble if you choose to use one, you have a third-party verifier who verifies that the LCA has been done correctly, and then you have a program operator, which is the organization which publishes the EPD. It may seem like a lot of parties, but it is specifically designed to be that way to give rigor to the process and to increase the accuracy of the results. So what standards are followed? So the key standard if you're producing an EPD in the construction industry would be EN 15804 plus A2. And that's what's known as the core product category rules. And what it does is it specifies how you do your life cycle assessment for a product to be used in the built environment. The life cycle stage, and it breaks down the life cycle stages into a series of modules. The first one being module A1, which is the raw materials, then the transportation of those raw materials to a place of manufacturing, the manufacturing process, which obviously uses energy, may use water, there may be process direct emissions, there may be ancillary materials, so materials that don't go in the product but are involved in the manufacturing process. That is what's known as cradle to gate. Then you can look beyond that and you consider transportation to site, the installation of the product, that may use energy, there may be installation losses, and then the use of the product. So some products have a very minimal impact in use phase, others have a very high impact in use phase. Some may have operational energy use or operational water use. Some may require maintenance or repair during their life cycle. And then what happens to the product at the end of its life? It's removal from the building, it's transportation to waste treatment, the waste treatment processing, so the recycling activities, and then if a percentage of the product can't be recycled, then the eventual disposal of that. With EN 15804 plus A2, the minimum you need to consider is cradle to gate plus end of life. And you can also look at what's known as Module D, which is looking at the benefits and loads beyond the system boundaries. So say your product contained a material that could be recycled, you consider the recycling of that and also the provision of that recycler to the next life cycle and the sort of avoided impact from providing that material to a subsequent life cycle. It's therefore you get to claim a little bit of benefit back to your life cycle for the provision of those recyclers. The EPD will also be done in accordance with the ISO standards on life cycle assessment, so ISO 14040 and ISO 14044. The verification, third-party verification, will be done in accordance with ISO 14025. And then certain program operators have additional product category rules that are specific to certain types or certain categories of products, in addition to the core product category rules of 15804. You also have general program instructions, which program operators use as a way of defining certain things. For example, rules around averaging, where you are looking to group multiple products within a single EPD document. And then what are the benefits then of producing an EPD? Well, an EPD will help you to, conducting the LCA will allow you to highlight the environmental hotspots in your product. So this little diagram down the bottom, a little pie chart, you can see that this is global warming potential, so effectively your carbon footprint. And the largest section of the pie chart is for transportation to site, is 45.2%. So that's clearly indicating where the majority of the impacts lie for this particular product. It will also allow, and that will allow you to do something about that and to look to make improvements to the environmental performance of your product. It will give you the opportunity to be more confident in your environmental reporting. It will importantly allow you to be specified as a material of choice more easily. So this screenshot I have over here on the left is a piece of software for conducting a whole life carbon assessment on a building. You can see that what I've done is I've searched for the EPD that I showed in the previous slides, and here it is available in the database for selection and use when doing an assessment on a building. So the fact that you have an EPD will mean that you will appear in the databases that are being used for doing building assessments. And it will also allow you to be more prepared for upcoming legislation. So at the moment, EPDs exist predominantly in a voluntary or market-driven market, but that is going to change, and there will be regulation introduced specifically in Europe, or in particular in Europe, specifically the construction products regulation. There is a gradual transition to the implementation of that, but it will be you'll be required, in order for your product to be specified on the shelves in Europe, you'll be required to supply environmental data along with your product. So there we go. I hope that was helpful. Thanks very much for your time.